Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Deirdre O'Connell, CEO of Daniel Gale Sotheby's International Realty, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the second program in our next chapter, Life After New York series. Today, we're proud to feature our colleagues from William Pitt Sotheby's International Realty, who will be sharing their expertise on the lifestyle and real estate opportunities in both coastal Connecticut and Litchfield County. The series was created to provide trusted insights for those of you considering your next chapter beyond Long Island, particularly individuals and families 55 and better who may be looking to downsize, relocate, or embrace a new lifestyle. Our first program focused on North Carolina, and today we continue that journey with a closer look at two of Connecticut's most sought-after regions. We are fortunate to have the local leadership of William Pitt Sotheby's International Realty with us. Their in-depth knowledge of these markets will help you better understand the communities, housing options, and unique advantages of each area, so you can make informed decisions about your future. And a little bit about Sotheby's International Realty. That's me.
It is you. That was you. That's Deirdre. Thank you.
There we go. We're so fortunate to be part of Sotheby's International Realty because of the unique relationships we have with companies around the world. We have 1,100 offices. We're in 83 countries, and we have 26 advisors. So if Connecticut isn't your place to go, we can certainly help you get wherever you wish to go. So with that, I am so delighted to hand this over to Carolyn Fugere, President and Chief Sales Officer for William Pitt Sotheby's International Realty.
Thank you, Deirdre, so much, and thank you for allowing us to participate in this program. We're thrilled to be here. I am Carolyn Fugere. I'm the Co-President and Chief Sales Officer for William Pitt and Julia B. Fee, Sotheby's International Realty. And our territory in that big global scope that Deirdre just shared with you is really focused on Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Westchester County, New York, and the Hudson Valley of New York. So within our operation, we have 1,100 advisors, we have 31 brokerages in this region, and our annual sales volume is around 5.6 billion. And so today we're going to start off. I'm going to share just a little bit about why I love Connecticut, why we all love Connecticut, and it's really the special lifestyle. I've spent my whole life here, and whether you're enjoying sort of the culture of these historic towns that they've done such a great job with historical societies preserving, or these big town greens, or even our more cosmopolitan, smaller cities that our guests here will walk you through today. You also have incredible museums, art galleries. There's just no end to the great cultural offerings in this area. Then when it gets to fun, we have casinos, you may know that, but we also have beautiful theaters, from outdoor amphitheaters to gorgeous old historic theaters, sporting arenas, and then just for every season of the year is an opportunity to attend these great festivals. The community, each individual community offers a unique experience, and we'll walk through a little bit of that today. If you can't not come to Connecticut and have pizza. You may have heard of our pizza. We're famous, I think, #1 for it. But also an incredible farm to table experience. We have a lot of vineyards, craft breweries, and the cuisine options are endless here. I mean, we're between New York City and Boston, so there's a lot to explore on that front. And then we love that we're like one of those ski to sea places. Yeah, so we have mountains for skiing, or you can be boating on Long Island Sound, and 4 seasons a year to enjoy here. And beautiful, there's a big focus on conservation, which you'll also hear about. So there's such incredible land and hills to hike, beautiful golf courses, beaches, and Connecticut river valleys, Housatonic river valleys, a little something for everyone in terms of a beautiful landscape. It's easy to get here, we know. Air travel is so simple. We now have 2 airports, Tweed and Bradley International, and then also very convenient to whether it's New York's major airports or Boston. And then our ferry service is great. I come over and see Deirdre and her Daniel Gale team in Long Island, and I love taking the ferry from Bridgeport to Port Jeff. Super convenient, but also ferries coming out of Groton to all the many beautiful islands off the coast of Connecticut. And then the rail service is phenomenal. Metro North, services all of Connecticut. We also have Amtrak for higher speed connections, whether you're going to Boston or Providence or DC, Philadelphia. Again, convenient access to travel. Healthcare, this is something that we always want to, talk about, and the quality of your healthcare options here in Connecticut are incredible. Connecticut is ranked number 3 nationwide for healthcare. We have incredible offerings from, you may have heard of UConn, the University of Connecticut Medical Center, and they are actually spread out all over the state. Yale, New Haven, which is actually top ranked in the world, as well as Hartford Hospital, that also has all of these hospitals have big networks across the state where you can go to smaller facilities for your convenience. And then just St. Francis Hospital, Stanford, Griffin, Midstate, all of these facilities have smaller offerings in the local communities for your convenience and great reputations. So we have to talk about taxes. Going to be real estate. If we didn't talk about taxes, just a quick little overview. The Connecticut state income tax is just giving you your rate per your taxable income range. So you can see it going from 2% to 6.9%. And then Connecticut sales tax, flat 6.35% on most goods, your food, retail, clothing, shoes, whatever it is, 6.35% is our sales tax. And then we're often asked about how does it work with gifts or inheritance, estate tax. So basically, the estate tax, gift tax, inheritance tax is all like lumped into one, and it's a 12% flat tax, but only on amounts that exceed almost 14 million, 13.9 million. So this is obviously very attractive to people who are setting up their states and working to gift financially here in the state of Connecticut. So I want to give a quick introduction to our speakers today. We have Lindley Middleburg. She's going to be focusing on the Connecticut shoreline from Fairfield County all the way to the Rhode Island border. And then Julie King is going to be focused on Litchfield County. They are both brokerage managers at our company and live and breathe and know these markets so well. And we're going to begin with Fairfield County. Lindley's going to start us off, but I thought we would share this little interesting comparison of our Gold Coast. We call it a tale of 2 Gold Coasts between us and our friends over in Long Island. And Fairfield County, as we often say, is similar to the North Shore of Nassau County. So in Fairfield County, you have Metro North, trains very commutable to New York City, top-ranked school, very affluent zip codes. And so for people who want that vibe, it's very similar in Fairfield County. And we'll dive into the detail for some of those towns. And then as we get further out on the shoreline, sort of beyond Fairfield County, we like to say it's a little more similar to like Suffolk County. And so that's where it's a little more beachy, a little like slower, laid back vibes, smaller towns, smaller, beach properties. And we will actually show you some property examples from all these marketplaces to help give you the vibe and the experience for those marketplaces. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lindley Middleburg. She manages our beautiful Darien, Connecticut brokerage, and she's going to talk to you about the Connecticut shoreline.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. As you can see, the sun is setting in beautiful Darien, Connecticut right
Oh,
now.
yes.
So I apologize for the lighting. I'm trying to kind of move around so you guys can see me. But as Carolyn said, we think of Fairfield County as kind of more of Suffolk County. And what's very distinct about the Fairfield County shoreline is each market is very, very distinct and very different. So when we kind of get into that, and we're going to talk about some of the towns that we wanted to highlight, you'll start to notice that they each have something that they bring to the table. And then as we get further up the shoreline to Shoreline East, like Carolyn said, the towns are a little bit more similar, but they have all of that kind of same vibe running through them, whereas you're going to see very distinct things down here in Fairfield County. So Carolyn,
We'll play the little video.
that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Fairfield
So
County.
I
Do you
know.
want to
So
dive
the
right
first
in?
Yeah, let's jump right in. I think that's a great introduction to the county as a whole, and you can kind of get a feel of, we have waterfront, primarily on the shoreline, and then we do have some beautiful kind of back country, as we call them, properties. Our first stop is going to be Greenwich. Obviously, that is the town when most people think of Connecticut. I think everybody's mind, for the most part, especially with the proximity to New York, automatically stops at Greenwich, and you know it is kind of that first intro into Fairfield County. Obviously, it's definitely a very close train ride to Manhattan. It's favored by a lot of financiers and executives to be able to have that very quick commute into Manhattan. What's interesting about Greenwich is, I know a lot of people may not necessarily know this, is there's four very unique sections. So there's Greenwich proper, Cos Cob, Riverside, and Old Greenwich. And each of them, while they are part of Greenwich as a whole, have a little bit of a distinct feel to them. Whereas if you're going to Old Greenwich, it's a little bit more of a tighter knit Sea Village community, but still with some beautiful high-end properties. And then you have Riverside and then Greenwich proper, which encompasses a much larger area. There are 32 miles of shoreline in Greenwich, so there's a lot to do in terms of waterfront property, two beautiful public beaches, so many marinas, golf courses, clubs, things like that. So there's a lot of abilities to kind of have that active social life if that's what you're looking for. And then kind of the distinct properties. You have luxury condos and townhomes near Greenwich Avenue, which is that big, beautiful street most people think of when they think of with Greenwich, with the high-end shops, restaurants, a really vibrant kind of downtown life. And then you also have a lot of waterfront living down closer to the shore. As Carolyn mentioned, Greenwich Hospital is part of the Yale New Haven network, so that's a top medical facility. There's also several luxury gyms, Equinox, boutique fitness studios, and kind of that. And a nice kind of added benefit for those of you who like to be able to kind of get in and get out quickly is the Westchester Airport is about 15 minutes from Greenwich, and I personally prefer that one. It's a lot easier to get in and out of. It travels to most kind of major hub airports. I know Westchester to West Palm Beach is a short flight. I think it's like 2.5 hours, very easy to get in and out of. But if you also need a little bit more of an international travel or more destinations, LaGuardia is less than 40 minutes away. A couple of really quick, I just wanted to point out some interesting facts. The oldest horse show in the US, for those of you who are very into horse shows and horse properties, I know the Hamptons Classic is a big thing on Long Island. The Greenwich Horse Show is one of the longest running horse shows. It was founded in 1919 and it still goes on today, which was something I thought was a very interesting fact for you guys. As you can see, two homes in Greenwich, we kind of went with entry level and luxury. In Greenwich, you're looking at your entry level about $1 million to $1.5 million. Typically, those are closer to the what we would call in-town living. You're getting about 1/4 of an acre. Taxes are low, $5,000 a year. So there's a lot of opportunity. And again, you get that in-town living feel. Whereas opposed to, like we were discussing, Old Greenwich, if you're looking for a true waterfront kind of luxury destination, we built this beautiful property on West Crossway, which is about $8.5 million. That's on, again, the lot size is very similar, you'll notice, but you're getting 4 times the square footage and you're getting that kind of waterfront community. So like I said, Greenwich has a lot to offer. Obviously it's a very distinctive town within Fairfield County, but we'd like to kind of take you up the line a little bit. So we're going to move on to Stamford.
And she's a fixer-upper, by the way, our Circle Drive here. Too bad it's
Yes.
one bath, just $1.5 million for a little fixer-upper.
Exactly.
Good one.
So Stamford, kind of as you're coming up the line, Stamford is definitely kind of what they're known as the city that works, which is really interesting because it is the highest concentration of Fortune 500 companies per capita in the US. And I think a lot of that has to do, obviously, with our proximity to the city. Our Amtrak major hub is there. The express trains that go into Manhattan on Metro North, everybody stops in Stamford and kind of makes that straight down to 125th Street. But what's nice is they've really kind of focused on doing a big booming reconstruction of the downtown and of the waterfront. So we're going to focus on a lot of the new high-rise residences. Harbor Point is what that area is called. They have done a beautiful job of really kind of finding that niche market that people are looking for, whether they're downsizing from Darien and wanting that proximity still to kind of the towns that they grew up in, and Stamford affords them a little bit different lifestyle when they're kind of coming out of their bigger houses. In fact, I think I told Carolyn the other day, 7 or 8 agents who in the past 10 years have sold their properties here in Darien, still sell real estate, still are very involved in the community, but have moved down to Stamford just for that kind of different lifestyle of living. They want something a little bit easier, kind of turnkey. There's a lot of cultural aspects in Stamford. The Jerry Springer Show, Maury Povich, WWE, is a really kind of a big thing that most people see as you're driving down that 95 corridor. You see the big WWE building. But what's also great is, again, there's a mix of high-rise and luxury condos to kind of what we again call backcountry in these beautiful estates in North Stamford. Stamford Hospital, again, Yale New Haven, a wonderful, wonderful healthcare system. And as we said, the Amtrak service, if you're going a little bit further north of the city, you get the Merritt Parkway, which if you haven't driven that in the fall, I highly recommend it, or Google it. It is one of the most beautiful drives you'll ever see, with those picturesque, golden green, golden red and orange and beautiful trees, kind of what you think of when people are saying, I'm going to do fall in Connecticut.
You won't mind being in traffic. It's so pretty.
Absolutely not. It's a wonderful drive. So we kind of wanted to showcase a little bit of what you get for urban, what you get for suburban in Connecticut, or excuse me, Stamford. And like I mentioned, North Stamford is a very popular neighborhood. The nice part is you're still in downtown and you're still at the waterfront in, I would say, 15, 20 minutes max, depending on the time of day, obviously. But what you're going to get in North Stamford is you're going to get almost 2 acres, almost 4,000 square feet for under 2 million. You get these beautiful properties. Again, there are, you're close to Bedford, you're close to other little hamlets and inlets that you can go to. And then the opposite side, like we said, you've got the high rises down in Harbor Point, beautiful brand new buildings. There's a penthouse at Harbor Point Road in downtown Stamford, $14,000 a month. The views to the city, the Long Island Sound, it can't be beat. They're absolutely gorgeous. And the amenities down there. There are restaurants. There are paint and sips. There are all kinds of really fun things down to do at Harbor Point. So it's become really kind of a destination for people who still want that little mix of city lifestyle, but a little bit more relaxed and maybe not the hustle and bustle of Manhattan.
And I love you highlighted the penthouse because that's fun. Who doesn't love a penthouse? But I think they start
Exactly.
around like $3,000 or so. You can be living in one of those apartments, waterfront living for, a little over $3,000 a month. So it's a range.
Yes. And then we get to a town close, near and dear to my heart, Darien, Connecticut. Darien is known for its top-ranked schools. They rank in the top 3 in Connecticut every year. We have some stunning beaches. In fact, Pear Tree Point Beach is actually one of the smallest. It's just 8 acres. But oftentimes when people are kind of ranking and talking about the Connecticut shoreline beaches, Pear Tree is listed as one of the most beautiful beaches. We actually the town just bought Great Island, which used to be a privately owned property that they are now turning into a town-owned park with horse stables and walking trails and event spaces. And that's something that we're very excited about. In addition to, we've revitalized the entire downtown. And lucky for us at William Pitt Sotheby's, we are right across the street from where all of this change is happening. So we're dead center in the middle of it and kind of seeing how the town has grown and adapted to change. It still has that small town feel, but there's definitely a lot more amenities coming through the town. Boutiques. We're bringing Millie's from Nantucket down, so I know that makes a lot of my locals very happy. And those of you who tend to go out into those islands in the vineyard and things like that, there's going to be just a whole host of new opportunities. With that comes new condos. We have 3 senior living facilities that are in town. They range from kind of that independent but group living all the way up to memory care. So there's a lot of options there. And then all of the new residential that's being built in our kind of new development hubs is all going to be rentals and condos to kind of fit that market where we want to keep people in our town and enjoying our amenities, but maybe don't need a 5,000 square foot house. And kind of going into an entry-level median, you have an adorable 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's a great either what we would consider a starter home or a downsize home. Again, you can range anywhere from 0.1 acres all the way up to, we have a property that just came on that's 6 acres, and part of it's a land trust. So there's definitely opportunity. Your taxes are going to range anywhere from 5,000-6,000 a year all the way up. As you can see, kind of our median level is like that $2 to $3 million range. Again, newer construction, there's been a lot of development in Darien in terms of some of the older homes are getting developed, but they're still done in such a tasteful way, and they're walk to town, which is a lot of what people are looking for kind of in our area. And again, for those people who still need to commute into Manhattan, you're looking at a less than hour ride on Metro North, which is a really attractive option for a lot of people. And then we get into Westport, which is also a town that I am very fond of. It's definitely more of what I would consider a suburban artsy community. There's a lot of culture happening in Westport. Levitt Pavilion is a beautiful outdoor space. There are concerts, shows, singers, performances, all this that kind of happen right on the Saugatuck River. So it's an absolutely beautiful space. It's right next to the Westport Library. The Westport Country Playhouse has several nationally recognized acts that come through. It is a really just kind of a cultural hub of Lower Fairfield County. And what's nice is you have the Long Island Sound, but you also have the Saugatuck River that runs through Westport. So you kind of get a little bit of that, you want to take your paddleboard out, maybe have a little bit of quieter morning water sports, or you can take your boat out on the Sound. There are several rowing clubs, so you can have dinner along the Saugatuck River and see, people crewing as it were, while you're having your cocktails. Again, highly ranked public schools. Campo Beach is an absolutely stunning public beach that's available to all Westport residents. And then other towns in Fairfield County who may not have beach access can apply for lottery permits to kind of get access to that. But then obviously in the off season, Sherwood Island is a state park. It's absolutely stunning. That's open to everyone who's a resident of Connecticut. And again, you have a good mix. So you have kind of that downtown center, really walkable, I would say almost Huntington-like village. And then you also have a little bit more of the suburban area of Westport that goes with the Route 1. And it has, a little bit more spread out, but there's also tons of restaurants that are coming in. In fact, one of the restaurateurs in Westport was just nominated for a James Beard Award. He was a finalist. He was one of the top 5, and he has 3 restaurants in Westport. So there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of culture, a lot of things happening. And, Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward also played at the Westport County Playhouse. So there's a lot of history and culture there. And funnily enough, Bewitched, the town in the TV show, was actually based on Westport, Connecticut. So I found that very interesting as well. And if we can show you, kind of the median in Westport is, you have things, again, these are both beach neighborhoods, which is, something that we really wanted to highlight is what you can get in a beach neighborhood. You can go around the $2 million mark, or you can go all the way up to the $4, $5, $6 million mark. And you're looking, again, a little bit smaller acreage and footprint, but you're having that waterfront community. There are definitely a lot of new construction in Westport. They have a really big boom for that, but the market demands it, and you can get some incredible properties. There's some wonderful builders doing things there. So it's a fun place, and it's a very unique, again, compared to Greenwich, to Stamford, to Darien. So everything is similar, but a lot different. And then just to highlight a couple of influencers, if you're looking to follow some people in Westport, Lemon Stripes is a local mom whose husband works in Westport and Greenwich as a fitness instructor. They live in Westport. Happily Ever After is Susan Sarandon's daughter. She lives in Westport, and so there's a great connection there. And then a personal favorite of mine is Brunch with Babs. She is your favorite grandmother that you've always wanted to hang out with, who's a little bit sassy. But really, if you're looking to kind of get a flavor of what it really is like to live in Fairfield County, I highly recommend giving one of these influencers a follow. All right, so now we're going to move on a little bit up the line. And this is kind of what we would say is the eastern shoreline. So as Carolyn said, shoreline east, very much the Suffolk County. These towns are a lot smaller, and again, a very different vibe from kind of lower Fairfield County. Larger lots. Much more focused on a town green. So what you think of quintessential New England, Connecticut towns, and a very relaxed style of living. So since you're a little bit further from the city, yes, you can still access it, but it's definitely kind of a slow down vibe as opposed to kind of that quick access to Manhattan. You're also going to be very conveniently located to New Haven, Hartford, Providence, Boston. So that's going to take you a little bit further up north. But again, still that waterfront lifestyle of marinas and yachting and beaching and clamming and all those really, really fun things. So we're going to start. Oh, I said all of those things already. All right, we're going to start.
You did. You're so good. You didn't even need that slide.
Sorry. So Milford, which is kind of cool, has 17 miles of shoreline, which is the most of any Connecticut town, and has 14 public beaches. So if you're really looking for that true, like, kind of New England beach style, I would say Milford is your go-to. The Milford Oyster Festival, one of the largest in New England, epic time, delicious food, craft tents, all kinds of, as Carolyn says, the craft breweries, the wineries. It's just a really kind of community feel. You can get anything from a cottage to a colonial, newer condos, townhomes. There's, a definite ability to kind of have that community downsizing, active programs. And again, you're very conveniently located to Yale, New Haven, and Bridgeport hospitals. So that's a wonderful thing. So kind of what you get in Milford, entry level, and again, you're going to start to see the prices shift a little bit. So entry level in Greenwich was about 1.2, and then entry level up in Milford, you're looking at about 650. So definitely a different change. Significantly bigger house is kind of what you're getting your entry level. But then kind of when you're looking at luxury in these towns, you're at 1.3, 1.4 million. You're getting bigger square footage, waterfront, things like that, which is really great. And then, again, you can kind of determine your lifestyle. Do you want to be closer to town? Do you want to be on the water? Like, what is the community that you are looking for there? And as we move up from Milford, we're going to go to Guilford, and there's going to be a quiz at the end. So you guys are going to have to repeat all of these names: Milford, Guilford. So what's great is, here you're going to have, again, that beach access. It's a lot more of that antique feel. But you're also going to start to see, again, those strong school systems come into play, and the active cultural scene. And, you're 20 minutes to New Haven, which is a great hub here in Connecticut, 40 minutes to Hartford, and less than 2 hours to Boston. So you have that, again, kind of that mid feel of either people, starting out or downsizing or that. And it has also, I think, one of the largest town greens in the state of Connecticut. So again, you're going to get a little bit more of that true classic New England vibe with that waterfront access. And then in Guilford, we have beautiful, as we were talking about, condos. There's a wonderful development. It may not look like it from this aerial, but it's also very close to the water. So you're getting that, again, coastal feel. And then you can go all the way up if you really, want bang for your buck. This beautiful $5 million property. You're on the water. You have a pool. You're on 3 acres. So you kind of have this like compound retreat that you can spend the sunsets at.
I want that one.
There you go, Carol. I know a great agent that could sell it to you. All right, Essex. So Essex is a very unique town. One of my favorite things is the Essex Steam Train. They do a wonderful Christmas production every year. So everybody rushes in September to buy their tickets for the Essex Steam Train. You take your kids, you wear PJs, you get to do cookies and chocolate with Santa. So it's a really fun fun time. But what's also nice is it also has the Connecticut River coming through it. So kind of like we talked about, Westport has the Long Island Sound and the river. Essex has the same style where you're a little bit further north, but you still have that riverfront living and the Long Island Sound living. Really famous Griswold Inn, which has opened since 1776. So it's one of the oldest operating hotels. You're looking at a lot of second home buyers and retirees. They have volunteer opportunities, historical groups, art groups. So it's a really vibrant community for that second home market and people who are kind of looking to downsize. We've had plenty of our clients come from Fairfield County who want a little bit slower, who have moved up the line. They still want the waterfront, but just don't need the access to the city. So it's a great option for that.
I think that Griswold Inn is haunted. I stayed there recently, and they tell you
Really,
all about that
I was
when you're
very
checking
interested,
in.
and apparently, well, it's very depressing, but in the War of 1812, one of the worst naval losses was in the Essex Harbor, and I found that out. So that was
Yeah, there's a lot of history in
a
that
lot of history
town.
there. And then again, talking about kind of the historic properties, you're looking at 18 Benson Lane, which is more of that traditional, historic, colonial property. It was built in 1832. You're going to see a lot of that in the Essex market. Just because it's built in 1832 doesn't mean it's not been updated on the inside and kind of made it for today's buyer. Or you're kind of looking a little bit more luxury, and you're going into Hannah Lane, which is about 4.5 million. Again, on the Connecticut River. The interesting part is they're very similar acreage, but you're looking at double the square footage, and again, a different lifestyle. So what I love about Essex is that it has a little bit of both for everybody. And then Mystic and Stonington, I'm sure most people on the call have heard of the Mystic Seaport, the Mystic Aquarium, Mystic Pizza, which is actually a real place. I have eaten there. Julia Roberts was not there when I was there, but it's a beautiful town. Has a lot of restaurants, breweries, vineyards. Again, like we were talking about at the beginning of our conversation, really that craft boutique feel, a lot of historic homes and coastal cottages, and a lot of second home, again, owners, very much a boating community, very much an artistic community, and a very walkable community. The Amtrak train goes to Boston in less than 2. And again, you can be in Manhattan in less than 3 hours. So it's a great kind of opportunity for people who are really wanting that kind of very beachy lifestyle, but want access to the major metropolitan areas.
Right on the Rhode Island border.
Exactly. And again, talking entry level, and you kind of notice these are a little bit all over the map. We're kind of back in the Milford entry level price point. If you're looking at, under $1 million, significantly under $1 million, but that in-town living. And then, as we get a little bit further into town, you still get that waterfront, but you're on Main Street for this beautiful estate, a beautiful property, and you're still on 3 acres. So there is a little bit for everybody. You can decide how big or how much property you want, but still kind of having that lifestyle.
Thank you so much, Lindley. Love it. So many options. And you have some social for
Yes,
us
and I
to
have some
follow.
more celebrities for you guys. So the Connecticut Life, Mystic CT and Shoreline CT, really kind of give you that flavor. Again, a lot of these communities in the Shoreline East are very artistic, very small. You can reach them all within 10, 15 minutes of each other. So that's the nice part too, is if you decide, hey, the vibe for me to settle in price range is really Mystic, but I want to explore Essex. That's the great part about this part of Connecticut Shoreline, is it's all very, very accessible to one another.
Oh, great. So fun. All right. Thank you so much, Lindley. So appreciate our little tour of the Connecticut shoreline. And the last market we're going to look at is our Litchfield County market. Julie King, who we have 4 brokerages up in that area. And we have a little video to get her started, and then I'll turn it over to Julie. All right, Julie, thank you so much for taking us through Litchfield County.
Well, thank you so much, and greetings from the Litchfield Hills. Before we start, I just wanted to mention, first of all, thank you to Deirdre for having us here. Deirdre's sort of near and dear to my heart because I actually grew up on Long Island. I'm a second-generation Long Islander. And I actually was introduced to Litchfield County by my dad. So growing up on Long Island, my dad was a member of Trout Unlimited. He absolutely loved fly fishing. And nearly every weekend growing up, he would drag me up to Litchfield County with him, and I would sit on the side of the Housatonic River, watch him fish, and then explore. So my roots are on Long Island, but my heart is now here in Litchfield County. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about why we came here and what we love about it. So first of all, we are in the true northwest corner of Connecticut. So north of 84 to the west of Route 8, we are the true northwest corner. We are often referred to as the Hamptons of the North. As a matter of fact, if you follow Facebook or the London Times, you might see that there was an article that just came out this week in which the London Times refers to Litchfield County as the Hamptons of the North. And for those of you that follow the Gilmore Girls, you probably know of a town called Stars Hollow. Well, Litchfield County was actually the inspiration for Stars Hollow. As a matter of fact, the town that I live in, which is Washington, Connecticut, was where the writer actually landed on the idea of writing the whole series. So you'll very oftentimes, if you're a Gilmore Girls fan, you'll see invitations to come up to events here, and that's why. Our area is about 90 minutes to 2 hours north of New York City. It is very much loved by second homeowners. We also see quite a few celebrities, directors, producers, writers, artists coming up from Metro New York. It's definitely sort of a kind of more laid back vibe. And a lot of the people that come here are coming here for a little bit more privacy. Not necessarily the people that want to be seen, but people that want some privacy and some quiet and some just chance to relax. Most of the towns here in Litchfield County are very small population towns. A lot of them average around 2,000, 3,000 people. Very low population density, so think larger properties, fewer people. There's a focus on conservation and preservation here. So every town is very strict on their zoning regulations, and part of that is truly to sustain the bucolic beauty of our area. So for that reason, you won't see a lot of building development here. You won't see subdivisions and things like that here. What you'll see are really more individual properties that were developed over time, some on small acreage, but the majority actually on large acreage. There's definitely an ethos here towards farm to table. But unlike most markets where you hear a lot about farm to table food, we take it even further. So we have farm to table food. We have farm to table wine. We have protein farms. So literally, some of you may be familiar with CSAs, which are the community supported agriculture, where you can buy a share and get farm fresh vegetables and fruits. Well, up here, you can get farm fresh proteins. So chicken and beef and pork. And we even have our own chocolate farm. So in the video that you saw some pictures of a big gray barn and some cows. Those are the cows that provide the milk for the chocolate at Thorncrest Farm. So we have our own chocolate farm. For people that come up here, as I mentioned, a lot of the focus is on privacy. So we get asked a lot of times by our clients, well, how do I get engaged in the community? How do I meet people? Well, civic engagement is very strong here. We have quite a few nonprofits in the arts, land trust, literacy, libraries. We have speakers up here all the time. So a lot of what's happening here socially is driven by the nonprofits and civic engagement. So volunteerism is a huge thing here, as well as fundraising events. So that's really where our social lies. From a healthcare standpoint, Lindley talked about a lot of the major health systems here. Up here in the northwest corner in Litchfield County, what you'll find is that we tend to have regional healthcare systems, so smaller hospitals, outposts of the larger healthcare systems. Most of our hospitals are either tied to Yale, Hartford Healthcare, or even Northwell. There's definitely a focus on preventative care here. So you'll see the hospitals very highly engaged in wellness. So whether it's yoga, nutrition, anything like that, you'll see the hospitals focus on that, but you'll also see that with our practitioners. So we don't have a lot of chain gyms here, but we have an enormous amount of yoga studios, Pilates, personal training studios. So you'll definitely see that here. We also now have an emerging trend that's really gained some steam over the last few years, and it's around concierge healthcare services. So again, because we are in a rural area, the doctors can be somewhat spread apart from your primary care to your specialists. So what's emerging right now are concierge services where you pay an annual fee. You have one primary care physician. That physician is attached to personal trainers, physical therapists, and they follow you holistically. So it's not holistic medicine, but it's really having one MD at the center of the hub that works with everybody that's working with you. So that's something that's emerging and much appreciated up here. So education. So as I mentioned, our towns are really small, and with that comes very small schools. So nearly every town here in Litchfield County has its own elementary school, but it's very common for us in the public sector to find combined middle and high schools. So there are regional school districts throughout Litchfield County. Again, the classes tend to be fairly small. Both of my boys grew up here. They both graduated in classes of about 60 students. Because our public schools are so small, very oftentimes people will compare it in some degree to a private school education because the ratio of teachers to students is actually quite high. Speaking of private schools, we are flush with private schools up here, and these are some that are very familiar. We have many boarding schools up here from Canterbury and New Milford, the Foreman School in Litchfield, the Frederick Scunn School in Washington, the Hotchkiss School, which is very well known in Salisbury, Rumsey Hall in Washington, and Taft in Watertown. And these are boarding schools from K to 12. Each school varies a bit, but these are some of the very well-known Connecticut schools. So it's very common for us, because these are boarding schools, it's common for us to see parents buy a home up here, whether it be maybe for a second home or because they want to be in the area that their children are going to school in. So private schools are very healthy up here. As far as housing, as I mentioned, we have a lot of small towns up here, so we don't have an enormous amount of inventory. And the size of each town varies, as does the median price. So you'll see towns like Roxbury, Washington, Salisbury, where our median is well over $1 million. But then there's also towns that are a little bit more rural, like Cornwall or Kent, Litchfield, Warren, where you will actually find that the median is around $500,000. So there's a widespread. Typically what happens when somebody enters our market, when a buyer comes up here, we'll always ask them, what type of property are you seeking? Do you prefer something that's a little bit more in town? Do you prefer something that's more private? How important is the downtown area to you, civic engagement? Once we know all of that, it really helps us navigate them to the right town. We have a limited number of low acreage properties. Most of the low acreage properties are going to be closer to the town centers. Those towns are towns like Kent, Litchfield, Salisbury, Washington, where you have a really well-defined town center with things like a library, a market, things that can support daily life. What we really have is an abundance of large acreage properties. Those could run from a few acres up to a few hundred acres. And again, when people come to the area, we talk to them and we ask them, when you're thinking of land, what type of land do you prefer? Do you prefer more open land with fields and meadows? Are you really looking to be right on a lakefront? We do have over 8 well-known and established lakes up here. Or do you prefer a property that feels a little bit more like a hug wrapping around you with woodland surrounding you for privacy? So again, the more we know about what people are seeking, the better that we can direct them where to look. We also have diverse architecture. So this is an older area. We are very well known for the Connecticut antiques. So we have antiques built from the 1700s all the way through. We also are a spot for a lot of very well-known architects. So you will see some very significant moderns here. And of course, with lots of lands come lots of estates. So we do, again, we have a variety of options for people, and we always just ask, what is it that what's your ideal? What does that feel like? And that helps us navigate you. Recreation. So we are a 4 seasons community, and that's where the analogy to the Hamptons of the North comes from. We are a true 4 season. Spring, summer, fall As I mentioned, there's really a lot of focus on conservation and preservation. We have several really stunningly beautiful land preserves up here, all open to the public with incredible trails that are maintained. So hiking up here, walking on the trails is very, very common here, especially on the weekends. You might drive by one of our trailheads and see a dozen cars there with people out walking. Because of all of the lakes that we have here, boating and paddle sports are very popular. So we have lakes that don't allow motors. We have lakes that do allow motors. But no matter what lake you go on, you are sure to see people in kayaks and paddle boards out almost 3 seasons. As long as there's not ice on the water, you'll see them in the water. Biking is very prevalent here. A lot of our land trusts have absolutely beautiful trails, but of course, if you don't want to be on a trail, we can absolutely recommend some really quiet country roads that are just stunning to ride your bike on. I mentioned my dad, fly fishing, absolutely. The Housatonic River runs through much of our area. It's one of the top fly fishing areas in the Northeast. But of course, we also have fishing on our lakes. And last but not least, golf and tennis. We do have tennis in almost every town, whether it be private courts or public courts, and the same with our golf courses. And some of our golf courses are stunning. The views almost distract more than the ball. From a winter sports standpoint, cross-country skiing is really popular here. As I mentioned, all of our land trusts have incredible trails, and a lot of the land trusts encourage people to cross-country ski on those trails. Absolutely beautiful. We also have Mohawk up here for downhill skiing and tubing and snowboarding, so we have downhill very close to all of us as well. As I mentioned, while you may find paddleboarders and kayakers out on the lakes 3 seasons in the winter, you'll see people out ice fishing and ice sailing on our local lakes. Ice skating goes along with it. And what's really great is I mentioned that we have a lot of private schools. Well, nearly all of our private schools have ice hockey rinks. And being part of the community, they open those ice hockey rinks to the community to come out and play. So there's a lot of ice hockey leagues, both for students as well as adults. And last but not least, my personal favorite is snowshoeing. So for those of us like myself, we own 22 acres. We have a lot of meadows. Very common to see us out on our snowshoes, snowshoeing across our property, but of course through all of our trail systems as well. So a true 4-season recreational area. So what you get for your money. So we broke it up into under $1 million and over $1 million. So as I mentioned, we have a variety of types of properties. So these are 2 examples of what I would call low acreage properties. 5 Prospect Street is in the beautiful village of Falls Village, Connecticut. It's one of our sort of more antique villages where you'll see lots of antique buildings downtown. It's a very tiny town. But for $650,000, we recently sold a 1910 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot, absolutely gorgeous property. This one, by the way, has actually appeared in Architectural Digest and several other magazines. And the reason why is we have a lot of designers up here. So we have people that will come up and buy a property and put their special touches on it. And this was a great example of one of those. Another small acre property, this one actually has views. It's outside of town, 392 Kent Hollow Road, recently sold for a little bit over 900,000. This was a newer property. The previous owners had bought the land and put a modern farmhouse on it. And this was on 1.4 acres, but if you notice, 1.4 acres with pretty spectacular views. The next slide shows you some of our larger acre properties. The property on Goshen, Connecticut, this was actually a 140 acre property. It was owned by a celebrity that came into our area for the purposes of really wanting privacy. And boy, did they get privacy on their 140 acres. It was a beautiful post and beam with stunning views, but absolute privacy. I don't think anybody knew that they were there. More recently, we just sold a property in Roxbury on 87 acres. This was a stunning antique that had been fully renovated with tennis courts and pools. And if you'll notice, our taxes are relatively low. So we have very high acreage, very low taxes. These are 2 examples of what you can get for over $2 million. And I did mention the lakes. We have, as I said, 8 lakes here. These compare 2 lakefront properties for you. So 158 Island Trail is on Bantam Lake. Bantam Lake tends to have very small lots. So you'll see relatively narrow houses on small lots. And this one recently sold for over 2 million. So you'll see that's about 0.22 acres on the lake. And the other one that you'll see here is 52 Morgan Lane. This is the one that really reminds me of what you might see up in Lake Placid, a real beautiful Adirondack style house. This was on 1 acre. 1 acre is really cherished up here on our lake. It's unusual to see a full acre on one of our lakes, but this was one that recently sold for over 5 million. So again, views, views, views. So even when you're on the lake, you'll have a view of the water, but you'll also have a view of the surrounding hillsides. And here we share with you a few of the people that we follow. Probably our favorite is Kevin Bacon. There is really 6 degrees of separation, or not 6 degrees of separation, from Kevin Bacon up here. He's probably one of the more famous people that lives here in Litchfield County, although I did mention we have quite a few celebrities, but they're not always in plain sight. But Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick, they are out on Instagram all the time talking about their farm here in Sharon, Connecticut. And as you can see, they are enjoying life well lived here. I also recommend that you follow Unlocking Connecticut. That's Laura and Bev. They are 2 entrepreneurs who started this channel about 3 or 4 years ago. They are experts in Litchfield County. They cover all types of places and things that you can do. And they're also highly accessible. So if they push something out on Instagram that you have a question, feel free to reach out. I guarantee Laura and Bev will respond. And last but certainly not least is our own page. We are Live Litchfield Hills. We welcome you to follow us to explore some of the most gorgeous properties that we have. And we welcome you to comment on them, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. So that's the Litchfield Hills. And again, we absolutely love life here, and we welcome you here.
Thank you so much, Julie. So many pretty things to look at. We're so thankful to be here today. Thank you, Deirdre, for the invitation. I think we added one more account if you want to also follow to just learn more about other parts of Connecticut. This is our full entire Connecticut. We'll include the rest of the Shoreline account on Instagram. But thank you so much, Deirdre. Anything else to close the meeting? Oh, do we have Deirdre? I'm muted.
Ah, there we go. There we go. Just thank you all so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And this is the second of the series that we're putting together. We'll be down in Florida in a few weeks, but thank you. We really appreciate it. And great job. Very great job. I learned a lot myself. So thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
And
Well,
have a
thank you
wonderful,
all.
wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is it just us chickens?
No. Over bottom right.
Thank you, Deirdre.
Thank you. Great job. I'm just not good at this. What kind of mouse is that?
You know what, my wrist was really